Section 2.5 is all about equations of lines. In this section, they're going to give you a lot of different forms to use to write equations of lines. So the first one up is the point-slope form. You usually want to use this when you're given a point and a slope, hence the name point-slope form. So if they give you a slope, you're going to put that in for m, and when they give you a point, you're going to put that in for x1 and y1. Here's another form. This one you're probably used to. You've been doing this one for a long time. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. When it's in this form, you're easily able to see the slope and the y-intercept. So slope is the m, and your y-intercept is the b. Okay, let's practice using these forms. Okay, here's our first example. They want us to write an equation of a line that passes through the point -4, 1 and has a slope of -3. Since they give me a point and a slope, I'm going to use the point-slope form, but you don't have to. You can use y equals mx plus b if you want. So I'm going to write down point-slope form, and I'm going to put my slope in for m, and my point right here is going to go in for x1 and y1. All right, be careful when you go to do x minus x1 because you're going to have x minus -4, so that's really x plus 4. And be careful when you're doing your homework in MyLab. Make sure you read the directions. If they say leave your answer in point-slope form, you're done right here. If they say write your final answer in slope-intercept form, that looks like y equals mx plus b. I need to get y by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going. I'm going to distribute this -3 right here. So if I distribute my -3, it'll be -3x minus 12. I'm trying to get y by itself, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And when I get y by itself, y equals -3x minus 11. That's slope-intercept form. So like I said, pay attention to your homework because they'll ask for different ways. Okay, here's another example. We're still going to write an equation of a line through the two given points. And then they say, write your final answer in this form right here. So make sure you write that down in your notes. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. So I want the x and the y on the left-hand side, and then the constant on the right-hand side. But I'm still going to start with point-slope form, or slope-intercept form, whichever you prefer. I'm going to start with point-slope form. Okay, I wrote down point-slope form. I need a point, which I have. I can use either one of these. I have a point. I don't have a slope, though, so I need to find my slope. I hope you know slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to do that first. Here's my slope formula. Now I'm going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I do that, I get -6/5 for my slope. I'm going to put that in for m. And then for my point, for my x1, y1, I can really pick either point that's given. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to pick the first one. So I'm going to plug -3 in for x1 and 2 in for y1. Okay, if they wanted my final answer in point-slope form, I would be done, but they don't. They want it in this form right here. And I don't want to distribute a fraction. So here's something that's pretty cool that you could do. Whatever is in the denominator of your fraction, you could multiply the entire right-hand side and the entire left-hand side by that number. So I have a 5 in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply the entire left-hand side by 5 and the entire right-hand side by 5. I put brackets around the entire left-hand side and the entire right-hand side to help me remember that it's the entire side that's being multiplied by 5. Now on the right-hand side, the 5's cancel, so I don't have any more fraction. And on the left-hand side, I'm just going to distribute a 5. Now I don't have a fraction. Doesn't that feel better? And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go ahead and distribute my -6. And my final answer is supposed to have the x on the left-hand side, the y on the left-hand side, and the constant, the one without an x or a y, on the right-hand side. So I want to move this 6x over to the other side. So I'm going to add 6x to the other side and put it in the front. and I'm going to add 10 to the right-hand side. So those are going to cancel, those are going to cancel. So after I rearrange it, I have 6x plus 5y equals 2. And that is standard form. I got the x term plus the y term equals the constant. That is not equal to 2. That's a joke. I can't add negative 18 plus 10. That should be equal to negative 8. I am so sorry about that. Okay, example 3. I have definitely seen this on the ACT before. They'll give you an equation and they'll ask you to find the slope and the y-intercept. Well, it would be nice if I could get it in slope-intercept form because I can easily see the slope and the y-intercept. So let's rearrange this equation and get y all by itself. So if I want y by itself, I'm going to move that 4x to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. And now I'm going to divide everything by 5. Everything gets divided by 5. Now it's in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, so I can tell that the m is my slope, the number in front of x, so negative 4/5 is my slope, and negative 2 is my y-intercept. Example 4. Write an equation of a line through these 2 points, and then graph the line using the slope-intercept form. So you can either start off by using slope-intercept form or you can do point-slope form. Doesn't matter to me. I like point-slope form, so I'm going to use that. So point-slope form is right here. I need to find my slope first, so I'm going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So when I use my slope formula, I get 3 for my slope. I'm going to put that in for m, and then I don't care which point you pick. I'm going to pick the first one. That's going to go in for x1 and y1. Since I have to graph it, I want to put it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute my 3 and get y all by itself. So if I distribute my 3, I get 3x minus 3, and then I have to add 1 to both sides. So my equation is y equals 3x minus 2. So I know that my slope is 3 and my y-intercept is negative 2. So when I go to graph this, I start with my y-intercept. So I'm going to start with negative 2, and I make a dot there at negative 2. And from that point, from negative 2, my slope is 3, so I'm going to go up 3 over 1. So from this point right here, I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. So I'm going to go up 3 and over 1 and make my point. And then now I'm going to connect the dots. Example 5, it just wants you to look at the graph and figure out the slope, the y-intercept, and the x-intercept. So pause the video and see if you can figure those things out. Okay, we're going to find the slope first. Slope is rise over run, so you go up or down first, then left or right. You can start wherever you want. I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to go down 1 over 3 until I get to this point right here. So my slope is negative 1/3 because I had to go down 1, right 3. Y-intercept is just where it hits the y-axis. So the y-axis goes up and down, so it hits right here at negative 1. The x-intercept is where it hits the x-axis. So here's where it hits the x-axis. It hits at negative 3. And part B just wants us to write the equation of that line. So you already know your y-intercept. You already know your slope. So let's use slope-intercept form. Your slope was negative 1/3 because we went down 1 to the right 3. So my slope is negative 1/3. And my y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis right there at negative 1. So there's my equation right there. Equations of vertical lines and horizontal lines, you should definitely write these down. If you have a vertical line, it's always going to be x equals a number, and a horizontal line is going to be y equals a number. Also, a vertical line has an undefined slope, and a horizontal line has a 0 slope. In my lab, you might see something where it says, write an equation of a vertical line that goes through 2, 4. You don't have to do anything fancy. If you can visualize it, you can write the equation. So I like to draw it. So I plot the point 2, 4, and then I know it's a vertical line. So vertical lines are going to be x equals a number. Vertical lines go up and down, so I know it looks like this. So where does it hit the x-axis? It hits at 2. So my equation is x equals 2. If I had changed it and said write an equation of a horizontal line that goes through that point, I would still draw it. So I would plot the point. I know that this one is horizontal, so I would draw a horizontal line. And I know the equation for horizontal lines are always y equals something, so where does it hit the y-axis? At 4. So that equation is y equals 4. And by the way, the slope on that one is 0.